online meeting of the FOSS user group in Natick, Massachusetts, USA. And welcome everyone who's here now, who logs in during the show, and people who just tune in later to watch it. FOSS is free open source software. Free open source software means free as in no money, and it means free as in unfettered. Programmers can look right inside and see if it's code they want to use or code they want to keep away from. They can also go in and modify it to correct it, or they can take pieces of it and use it to modify their own project so projects can build faster. It's better for the end user because of all those advantages to the programmers that want to make it better for the end user. And additionally, it's free. Everything on my computer is free. And you can,
computer.
except for the computer. On your computer, you can do that too, when you're ready. So that's what our group talks about once a month. And we'll be getting into a lot of details today on a lot of specific topics. But the very first one I want to bring up has nothing to do with computers at all. It has to do with the US election day that was 2 days ago, and yet we still don't have answers for many of the key votes, including who the president will be. They're still counting. I'm bringing this up in our non-political group because Ubuntu Linux, which I run, and many others in the group run, is in a parallel situation today. I don't know if it's the weather causing both of them, but we have a problem. The problem is it was due to come out on October 22nd by preordained date, and it did, just like Election Day. But just like this Election Day, it's going to take quite a bit longer for all the pieces to come in. So my advice for those who are running Ubuntu 20.04 and are thinking about upgrading to 2010, hold your horses. Don't be in a hurry. Let all those votes get counted first. I'll be saying more about that shortly. I just want to emphasize it right at the outset. Unless you're a hotshot or helping to debug the problems, why not wait? You won't get anything urgently needed by moving up, and you can afford to wait. And it might be a week or two, which is what I'm hearing about the election. So much for that.
I would like to request that the person who was typing turn off mute their microphone.
Because we're hearing it.
Right.
I sent him a message.
It was Bob. I muted him.
Oh, good. Thanks. I'm also hearing a lot of a squeaky noise.
I think that's you reverberating somehow.
I don't see how, but okay. It is echoing my voice, but I'm on somebody's microphone.
Your microphone.
Yeah.
Here's the problem, Dick.
Yep.
If you have a speaker on and a microphone, you're going to get a feedback.
I haven't been getting that feedback before.
Yeah.
And I didn't get it just now. So,
yeah. Earphones on this type of system work much, much better.
I understand, but I thought that I had that part under control, and indeed it just stopped. So I think somebody else had a microphone running it, picking up my voice and echoing. Thanks, whoever muted. Onward. Let me see. I will shift over. I do this once a month as it is showing. I'm going to shift over first with a D, and hopefully you're seeing my screen. And the next thing I'm going to do is bring my screen over to something I've been saving. And there it is. Everybody have my,
No.
no, my
you
agenda should
share
be
it?
showing.
Did you share it?
I thought so. We have no instructions, which will make it more confusing. What are you thinking?
I don't know. I don't know what you did.
I just,
not
I did a
watching.
D,
Yeah.
and it's sure that switch the display,
Yeah.
and that's all I did.
That
Here
shouldn't
you
share
are.
anything.
Here you are, right here.
Okay, didn't happen, huh?
That's because you have it in a different desktop.
Tell you what I'm going to do. It sounded much more logical a little while ago. Good grief. I'm making trouble briefly, and this is in Firefox, not, I see. Oh, well, okay. Okay, let me get over to that other window, which is in Chromium. I thought this window was. I think I may have to log out and log in again to unravel this. I'll be back very shortly. If somebody else wants to talk a bit, I'll catch in when I'm there.
Jerry, I would like to hear about what the fallacy of a firm release date is about and what the three variables in software development are.
Okay, I was just typing that. There are essentially three variables in software development, major variables. There's time, features, and resources. By holding time constant like Ubuntu does, you get a firm release date. But when you get down to that, you have to make some trade-offs. If you do it the other way, like we used to do at Digital or other places, including Red Hat and Fedora, essentially you target a date you want to release at, but you can slip the date. And you slip the date because you want to get your showstopper bugs fixed and things like that. But there's always going to be some reason. There's always going to be some reason why you don't want to do that, because you may have contracts and stuff like that. But so you don't want to slip the date too much. But those are the three things you have when you're dealing with software development. You can add resources, but when you get down to the final date, it's hard to add resources.
Thank you, Jerry.
You have to hit this first.
You're welcome.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me again?
Yes.
Yes.
We're catching up, hopefully.
Click back here.
Now, with little luck, I will bring up things I thought I had in a different window. Here we go. And good. I think there's hope. Okay, Dick Miller again. And I will mention first that a week from yesterday will be the International Day Against DRM, Digital Rights Management. Big trouble. I'm not going to go into the details a month ahead, but I'm giving you a link you can click on a month ahead, and you'll get to hear more about it. I think you'll be interested. And there are some related items. All these items have to do with FOSS news, and they have to do with free open source software and its counterpart, which is owned software and owned internet rights. some of which are overreaching. We think DRM is, and that's being debated. And here's a program, YouTube downloading, and this program has been removed from GitHub, which is owned by Microsoft. And the reason it has is a similar issue. The recording industry is putting out a takedown notice. They're saying you shouldn't be able to use this. That's not at all clear, but Microsoft apparently thinks it will either help or just cover its tail feathers from lawsuits by removing it prematurely. So this is an example of the intertwining of big companies, big organizations, and the individual right to get on the highway, as you will. In addition to that, here's another related one, and they're all going up this month, and they're all interesting. This one is the U.S. Department of Justice, which seems to be slow on some things we need, is moving right ahead against Google because Google is a big monopoly. That might be good and it might be bad. But the spinoff is Google gives millions of dollars every year to help develop Firefox. More of that interrelationship. And Firefox is our, we think, independent program for web browsing. So again, all these intertwinings of law, business, and the open internet are affecting FOSS in strange ways from strange angles, and a lot of it is going on this month. The GNOME Foundation helps develop the underlying software for a lot of the user front ends and a few other kinds of programs as well for free software. They're not the only provider of those, but they're a major, perhaps the major one. And the director of that foundation has a talk about patent trolls and more. And you will see that all four of these link together when you have time to click and listen and think about it. All related. I think I will leave it at that for now, but a few of them will echo back on us as we go forward with other topics. FOSS history, I'm going to simply put off because down later, the Linux command line for beginners is a article you're going to be able to have for yourself. You can put it on your computer if you want. And if you want to learn how to use Linux prompts, Linux command line issues, this is a great starting place. But the history of it is in section 2, the history of Linux and the Linux command line. So I put it under history as well with just a link we'll come to later. Good enough. Now we come back to where I opened the meeting. Wait. Don't be in a hurry. Wait. If you're one of our many users of Ubuntu 20.04, stay with it. If you're using an earlier version and were wondering if you should upgrade, you could either upgrade to 20.04 or wait. But here's what happened. I'll start with our personal version of it and then make it more general as we discovered we weren't alone. We happily upgraded to 2010 and it came up fine, looked like it was working fine. I happen to like Unity as my front end, and that's what we use here, and that's what our clients use, and a lot of other people like it better than GNOME for the front end, the user interface. You have your choice in Linux. You can add pieces of that like pieces of anything else. So I chose Unity, but when I went to add it to my updated Ubuntu, it wouldn't install properly. It was complaining about missing items that hadn't been missing before. And we fumbled for a while and gave up. I thought it would still be good to go to 2010 because of today's talk. Be nice to report on it. So I looked around for alternatives, and I found a number of them, one of which looked particularly appealing. And that one was Ubuntu Unity, not Ubuntu with Unity, but a separate operating system you can download as a whole called Ubuntu Unity. It's gone under 2 other names previously, but that's its current name. And lo and behold, it was running on 20.10 and saying it had no problems. And of course, it was featuring the Unity front end that I like. I loaded it. It ran quite nicely. I was very impressed. Then I found out it was a small project, just a few people supporting it. And the lead person supporting it is in a suburb of New Delhi, India. And he's 12 years old. He's doing a great job. He's been doing it for 2 years now. So I said, oh boy, that's interesting. I'll stick with that for the time being and demonstrate it. Then Ubuntu 20.10 issued one of its minor updates, and Ubuntu Unity started giving me trouble with some of the programs I run. I waited 2 days for feedback and did not get it, and decided it's time for me to go back either to Ubuntu 20.04 or Ubuntu 20.10 from the home base, and not rely on this rather weak link I had just starting to India. So hundreds of choices out there. I had to pick 1 or 2 quickly. And Jill and I ended up working very hard for more than 1 day to get Ubuntu Unity 20.10 to work smoothly with Thunderbird and with a couple of other minor issues that just shouldn't have been issues. We still had trouble with Unity, but we now had clues about the trouble. We had trouble with Thunderbird, but had clues about it. And we rolled up our sleeves and we did a bunch of work and finally got it all hung together. That's what I'm running on today. But most of you want to do that work. A lot of you can't, and you shouldn't have to. And as soon as the bugs get ironed out, you won't have to. So this is the background on why I'm saying cool it. Let's wait for that, like we're waiting for the US presidential vote to be all the way together instead of almost all the way. Almost all the way is defined in our house as just a wee bit pregnant. And we're not where we want to be on that one. So what's the problem? Well, let's go take a look. First of all, on the wait part, what have I got here? I primed something for it. Oh boy.
You probably have to go over to you don't have Thunderbird open on that.
I think I want to go to Firefox.
Firefox, I mean.
And here I am.
It's showing up.
I'm going to skip that one instead. Can I get back with one? I can't. I have to go click, don't I? Oh, I'll be used to it real soon now. I didn't go back to it, did I?
What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to see the window I was in.
Is it one of those tabs up there?
Well, maybe it's... No, it isn't.
I think you were in Thunderbird earlier.
I was in Thunderbird. And I'm not even seeing it. Okay, let's try again.
Now it's back.
Yes, thanks. I can tell too, thanks, because Shill's running a silent computer next to me, looking at what everyone else is looking at. Now, the catch is, I thought this would open up my Firefox window with no bugs. Well, here it is. Okay. Bugs for Groovy. Ubuntu 20.10 is named the Groovy Gorilla. And so Groovy is referring to that, 20.10. And what I'm looking for is right down here. 213 results for bugs for Groovy Gorilla. Got that? We're looking at...
And this morning it was 203, and last night it was 199.
The difference between this and Windows is you get to see these reports because it's open source. But the bottom line is they released it too soon. They know it. They're working on it. We're getting solutions one by one. But 213. You'll be able to open too. Over here, it says 0 critical bugs, but 34 of high importance, and 55 of them are new. My take was it was critical enough for my proceeding. We can use them. It's not critical because my computer's working, but they're high importance. I wouldn't put them on a client computer at this time. So let's watch this page. You'll have a place you can click after the meeting. Tomorrow, if not tonight, you'll have that. And we'll send out a notice to everyone that has subscribed to this email list when it's ready for you to download. So that's our first show and tell. Where am I? Not there, but here, I guess. Nope. Thunderbird, I know that, which is now up here. It skipped around on me. Been doing too much rearranging. You're going to wait. You know about the bugs. Part of the problem doesn't have to do with Ubuntu. Just as part of the election reporting problem doesn't have to do with the election, it has to do with coronavirus. And I think the same thing was in play here. There are fewer people working. They aren't looking over each other's shoulder the way they sometimes do on some debugging projects. And of course, we have the election as a big attention stress indicator that has also interfered. So I think part of the Ubuntu problem is coronavirus. And I think part of it is the election going on. But a part of it doesn't have anything to do even indirectly with Ubuntu. It has to do with Thunderbird, which I'm using for my email. Highly recommended normally. But it just leaped up from Thunderbird 68 to Thunderbird 78. Not as big a leap as you'd think. They changed the numbering, but nonetheless, it's a big change. And Thunderbird 78 kicked in Ubuntu at the same time. It crashed into the new Ubuntu changes, as did Unity 7.5. So Thunderbird 78, I'm running it. I recommend it, but use it on 20.04 or wait, or
Well,
stay
it
with,
also has
Yep.
a major problem with the calendar.
yes, although we have Thunderbird there. Thunderbird used to add the lightning calendar, and it ran very well, and I've been using it. What do you know? The Ubuntu 2010 plus Thunderbird 78, even after our extensive hand polishing of it, we still don't have the calendar running smoothly. I think we know how. And a day ago, I said, let's not try. It might endanger my running the computer for this show today. So tomorrow, we'll see if we have that under control, and we'll report on it in the discussion area for our group, which anyone can join. So I'll keep people updated on it without waiting a month if we have a solution for it. I still think we'll be on hold. That's too many bugs over there, including significant ones, to make it a desirable thing to do yet. Again, the other items are being supported. There's no panic here. So that's what's going on. You can read more about Thunderbird 78. I will tell you one thing about it now. I happen to be in it, and when I used to take some mail and wanted to send it to someone, I'd simply say, when I got some mail and I wanted to forward it, so let's go find some mail. Like say like that. Let's say I've got a Ubuntu one, and I want to forward it. I used to prepare a message, and then I would hit the button that said where I was getting it from, and I just say send it to, and it would open up a window and do it. Now it does that differently. Now if I want to do that, whoops,
It's not
false alarm.
Control W to close it.
Okay, I'll do it that way. Thank you. Now instead, this isn't where I want to be. Drat.
You want to write one?
No, I wanted to. Well, let's start by writing one. Maybe it'll get me to there. This has send when you want to send it, but that's not what I wanted. I wanted where you pick it up and say, I want to create one of these composition windows for a message.
Isn't this it?
There's a forward button from Dick Miller on your screen. There's a reply and then a forward button. Is that what you're looking for?
No. I'm not in the window I want to be, am I?
I don't know what window you want to be, dear.
I'm really unhappy about this. I got rattled by the earlier part.
You want to create a message, right?
No, I want to take a message and relay it and then decide who to send it to. Well, let me describe it for now. I may come back to it. I'm really off balance on the startup, but where I used to click and get some options on a message, I now instead have, oh good, let's go find those pills. That's what, hang on a minute, I'll get into a different mode. I'll just open one again, and I don't have the addressing on it.
That's right. You need to be in right or forward.
Well, let's try this.
And here are your pill things. Okay.
This is new. By the way, my sign off is immense, and I normally trim it down for whatever purpose I'm using it for. So we'll make it look about like normal. This address part down here in my Thunderbird is a sign off I have designed that's all fixed pitch, so those columns line up perfectly. And it's not working that way. Again, because of that update, minor touches that I could fix here, but I'm waiting till I see that they are fixed instead. Meanwhile,
up here you want to go to 2
and in here, this is what I wanted. Normally, let's say I want to take it, I want to send it to the Millers instead of blind copy the Millers. Normally, I would have just clicked on the BCC, click, and it would open up a set of options, including to, CC, etc. Doesn't happen anymore. Instead, a big change has gone on that affected that little one. This is not a bug. This is just a change. Finally, I'm where I can show it to you. I want to move this to here. It's now called a pill. Each individual address is a separate pill. Used to be, we had separate lines. I have 20 lines for the 2 column, the 2 category, if I was sending to 20 recipients. What they've done instead is change them to pills. I have one in the BCC. If I right-click on it, I can move it to 2 or to CC, or I can delete it, etc. That's all it takes, and that's the equivalent of what we did before by clicking on the BCC. The big advantage of it is my 20 recipients will all be in this line, except for the ones that are out of sight, and I can wrap to them. And I can mark half of them, if I like, with a shift click, sorry. And that half will turn red, the other half won't. And then I can click on one of them with a right click and move them all at the same time, or delete them all at the same time, or what have you. This is much nicer. It's much better organized, but it really threw me for a loop when I hit it before I found any documentation yet around for it. Now the documentation is caught up, and I like it a lot. So that's a new Thunderbird feature, address pills, and only one line for 2, only one line for BCC, etc. I think you're going to like it. And if you're not going up to Ubuntu 20.10, you can go up to Thunderbird 78 now and enjoy that. They've already come out with a few point updates for it. I didn't mention those in the article because right now they're all changing so quickly anyway. So that's what I wanted to say about that. Let's see. Back to my other one, if I can ever find it again.
your other one. Oh, you want to close this window?
Don't want that. I wanted Thunderbird. Did I miss it? I guess so. And I'll close.
Or close that. Discard changes.
Now, where's my, is that it? Nope. Yup. And so that's that. You can read all about Unity 7.5, and normally I would say just load it on, but the same conditions apply. If you're making this change, wait to add either of them, unless you want to do the experimental work. Let's see. I had a clue here, and I wondered where it is. We had that debugging clue, Jill, for the error we were originally getting. Let me think. Might be in my Firefox. These are all the bugs, but I want a bug if I'm lucky enough to find it. I'm lucky enough to find it. This parsing error, I guess all of it really, this parsing error was what was showing up when we already had Thunderbird and Unity updated in 20.10, and 20.10 threw us a loop with an update. This was the error we got when we tried to add Unity. And it turns out to be pretty tricky.
I thought this was when we tried to start Thunderbird. Oh, with
True.
Unity added. I get it.
Right. And so it turns out, and here's other people finding the same problem. And once I found that, I was able to watch them being much better programmers than Chill and me put together, and much more familiar with the internal code, because we simply aren't. So we watched them debugging, and we got the workaround we were able to install. And you'll have this link when we send you the live links tonight. And it helped us. It enabled us to trace through it and do the steps that got us up and running. They were tough. So, and it's already saying, see other things, other places.
For a while,
And they'll lead to more and more and more.
For a while, people thought that it had to do with what language packs you had installed. I think they backed off on that.
Right. A lot of people were cutting language packs and solving the problem, but it wasn't that simple. And so we sat around for a while. Here's the language packs being discussed, et cetera, et cetera. So, folks, don't go there if you don't have to. Okay. No, back in Thunderbird. Took that wrong turn too. Here we go. Let's see. Okay, I think I've covered that part enough to keep you out of the way. Let's talk about something that got better instead of worse. I am running Ubuntu Unity, by the way. This look up and down the side, the ability to go in way down low to the part I want. I see things I recognize and I can go in and it expands, even though my launcher has tons of applications at my beck.
Is this Ubuntu with Linux Unity or is this Ubuntu Unity?
This is not Ubuntu Unity. I'm not using that release any longer. It's what we added by adding Unity to the new Ubuntu. So it's up and running for me, but it took a lot of work. I want to point out that I use Variety. Let's go around the park here. This is cute. We'll be talking about this a little more very shortly, but it's wallpaper. It's wallpaper I put together. I thought a picture of Albert Einstein and a picture of one of his blackboards would be a real good combination, especially one with a little sign off by me in the bottom, done in a sort of a blackboardy script. So I put together this wallpaper. But what I want to talk about is...
You just did a screen print.
I did?
Yes.
Oh, wrong button. Sorry. Here I am. What I want to talk about is, I guess I can close this now. I have a lot of wallpaper. I play with Photox, the photo program, and a cell phone camera and get very nice pictures between the two of them. So I'm juggling 100 or 200 of those for wallpaper, and I have a lovely program doing the juggling in the computer running now, and it's called Variety. We've talked about this in the past. What I want to talk about today is Variety has a new feature, and I already had built custom keyboard shortcuts on my computer to run Variety, turn it on, turn it off, which I just did, and also some other tricks. We'll demonstrate them quickly right now. One of them, I use the super key, the key that Windows thinks is a Windows key. It's a super key or a meta key, and Linux uses it as such. And I will tap it and tap my pause button, and it will pause on that one particular image. It's no longer parsing through it. If I tap it again, it's a toggle. It'll go back to the other way and go back through picking random ones and showing them. I can also go back one. I'll pause it so you know when I'm going back and forward. It's now paused on that one. No, it isn't. I think I paused it. Let's see. I think we got it. Okay. Nope, we didn't have it. There's Joe on a boardwalk in a swamp, on a river, and yes, it's paused. Okay. Now I can step backward to the previous one through them, or I can go forward. Those are the kind of controls I thought would be nice to have with it. What's happened is they've added another very nice feature I found about by accident. I hit a wrong button when I was in the right mode, and something happened I wasn't expecting. Forced me to go in, read the new instructions, and I now have another button in there.
Don't
have to do it by accident anymore. And down at the bottom of the screen, I have a bar full of thumbnails. And that thumbnail bar works about the way you think. I just click on any one of them and get it. Where I can parse to the left. If I go faster, it goes faster. If I go slower, nudge it just a little, it goes slower. So if I see one I like, I can just click and up it comes. This is a very nice tool right after a rain out our back window. And or picture in France. So easy to do, and also when you're done with it, easy to turn it off. How did I do it? We last discussed this in December, so I'm going to take a quick look. First of all, the question is, what is this new tool? So what I did was I made sure I had the newest version of Variety. And then when I got there, by the way, it's up in my window up here, so I can go look. And what do you know? There's something called Wallpaper Selector. New game in town. I didn't really need the button, but I wanted buttons for the other things so I don't have to interrupt. And it's away. So that's what I want to do with buttons. Next thing I did, Linux always has a handy terminal window. So those who know how can do work in there. And that's what you can learn how to do with that special document I told you about at the beginning. We'll be back to that later. What I'm going to do in here, I have Variety loaded. Man Variety. I want to see the manual built into the Variety program. And there it is. And way down in it, remember preferences? I I clicked on it a little while ago. Dash preferences will do that. The command line will read variety space dash preferences. And I tested. It turns out it's a toggle. It goes either way, on or off. So all I had to do was to go into my keyboard controls, keyboard shortcuts, and somewhere down there had custom shortcuts. And here's my custom shortcuts. They're all for the one job, variety. Next slide, previous slide, toggle pause. We talked about those. And here's the new one I put in. But first I had to figure out how by going to look it up in the program. And now that I know the command, I was able to do it. Super delete, or hold down the super key, the Windows button, and tap the delete key way up in the upper right on the function row. And that did it. Let's see why. So edit a shortcut, click the row. It says click the row, and there it is. Variety. Can I make it bigger? I think it was bigger the last time I looked, but whatever. There's more in there, as you might guess. Variety, space dash selector, just like the man said over here. Dash selector. And these are all for variety. So it says which program and then what command. And that's all I had to do. Once I had it in, I'll cancel now, but I said apply. And then I clicked on the right side here, which didn't say super delete. I clicked on it, and it opened up a box and said, click the keys you want. And I held down super, tap delete, and that's how those got in there. That's all I had to do to create it. I started it by saying I want a new one. Click the plus to get a new one. And here's all the clues you need for how to do that. Just reminding you, because we haven't looked since December, and I added a new one to the same program. Very effective. Close terminal, yes. Lovely to have tools like that, and Linux brings them to your desktop or notebook computer. So that's what that was about. So that's the new keyboard, the dash selector. And if you folks are running variety from that last round, you can add the thumbnail bar that way. And you can click on it and read about the thumbnail bar now. You couldn't before. And I led you to the agenda like this one, down below this one, for December 2019, for the earlier clues on it. It'll help some people remember. New Thunderbird 78. This was about bugs with it. This is about the features. And they took that Lightning calendar and they built a similar calendar internally right into Thunderbird. It's faster and smoother. It's a little more polished, but especially when it doesn't get jammed up by a not quite finished version of the Ubuntu.
It also has a problem that it doesn't use the same format somehow. So bringing in your old calendar data, we are having problems with that. And we think that we need to bring up the old calendar data in the old program and do an export and then do an import. But we will report back later about what actually worked.
Again, we're not about to try it until we hang up on this. So we shall see. I think it'll be about that simple. And you shouldn't have to do that. It also is going to include OpenPGP. A lot of people use Enigma so that their email will be unreadable except by the recipient who knows a password. Enigmail, which enables that, is an add-on for Thunderbird, but it's one that isn't working currently, like our calendar. You can switch to OpenPGP, or you can wait for that to get fixed. And I mentioned the address pills, which really surprised and discomforted me when I didn't know what to do. But now that I understand, and you do, I think they're going to be a really welcome feature, making it better. I've also been told it runs a bunch faster, as does Photox, and I'm sorry, as does Firefox. And I'm not sure we're seeing that, but we have fast computers anyway. They were quite fast. So that might be of interest. Firefox, meanwhile, moved up through 80, 81, 82, and we think that's running pretty well. It's got a bunch of new features too. Perhaps we can tell you what they are. You never know. And here we go. Picture and session improvements.
It's on.
Live streaming is on.
There you go.
And I claim I didn't cause that, but who knows? Firefox 82 has picture-in-picture. Am I going to see one here? I thought I'd be seeing one in their picture already. Well,
Do you
anyway,
have a window?
it shows up near the lower right, and you can turn it off or you can accept it. So you could be browsing while you're watching something or waiting for the right part to show up, two in one window, if you like. I think it's coming on as a default, and so far I think I haven't found a way to turn it off, but I'm expecting that very shortly. So that'll be nice too. Have it or don't have it as you prefer, when you prefer. So that's that. Back to Thunderbird. So Firefox 82 is nice if it's up and running for you. And we talk a lot about LibreOffice. I put a fun item in today, which isn't the usual fun item. It's an honest-to-goodness offer. You can get Windows 10 Home for your computer for just $100. Says the ad, and it'll show you a lot of what's good about it. It's about half of what's good about Ubuntu Linux, in my opinion, which is free. So it's FOSS fun for us FOSS users. It's a joke for us. But for other people, they're buying it and they're using it. And the reason I mention it here is as soon as you get it, they're going to try to train you into a subscription where you pay every year, and one for Microsoft Office. Microsoft Office similarly has FOSS counterparts, and the one that comes with Ubuntu and many versions of Linux is LibreOffice, Libre free in French. So free open source Office. Why not? And this is an article we'll be giving you a link to. So try it for size. And Bob Rankin, who writes good articles mainly for Windows users, is saying, isn't it time you tried something different? It can be expensive. And his first choice is, his first choice is LibreOffice. Mine too. He's going to give you others to look at, and he's going to give you a way to compare them. And you're welcome to try them. But I'm going to push LibreOffice. It's kind of the middle road one for Linux and for open source, and it's very well supported. So I thought these articles would be helpful for people who are on the fence about that or talking to someone who's on the fence about that. That's the arguments there. Whoops. Right. Back and forth, in and out. Wrong. It hopped one when I changed. I see what's happening. Okay. WebP image format. This was originally proposed, I believe, by Google, and 10 years ago. And I think it became an accepted standard about 8 years ago. It's an alternative image format instead of .jpeg or all the other ones, .raw, which gives you everything but is very bulky, etc. Google is trying to ship a lot of stuff around, and most of it is pictures, and they wanted an image format that was even smaller so they could ship it faster. And they worked on this one. It's pretty good. It's not all that standard, but it's showing up more and more now as standard, and our new Thunderbird started bringing it in pretty heavily. So much so that
Not always smaller.
It's not always smaller, but in general, it will be very good on compaction. It compresses the code for the, as does JPEG and other
I think it's less lossy than
previous
JPEG.
popular ones. So I use Photox. And can Photox do anything with those? Well, my new Thunderbird brought me a picture I wanted to work on with Photox. And specifically, it was the one I already showed you. Not that one, but well, let's try my new toy.
You hit the print screen again.
I hit the wrong button. I'm taking pictures I don't need. And I think I came from this way where it was, but I'm not sure. Hello. Oh, I'm at one end. Good, then I'll find it. No wonder it wasn't going. I'm looking for that picture of the blackboard or the one of Albert Einstein.
Oh, there it is.
There's one of the two of them. That's good enough. Not the one I was actually after, but the point is, I got that colored picture. This is a black and white famous photograph of Albert Einstein. Said, asked, will you please turn around for a picture? And it's at his 72nd birthday party at Princeton University. I mean, was a pretty jovial guy. He turned around and that's what he did for the picture. It was in black and white, and it recently resold at auction, the only original signed print. Resold at auction for $150,000 recently. But the picture is online. And so is this colorized version that someone made a lot later. I thought it'd be fun to play with it. So I grabbed it from online, and then I wanted to bring it into Photox, and I discovered it was a .webp image. I had to look in Photox, which has very good write-ups, and when I searched on .webp, or just WebP, I guess, I came up with the reference, and it said you add an add-on program, which I found in Synaptic Package Manager, which we always recommend installing. In Ubuntu, you will get the Ubuntu Software Center already aboard, and I use it to install Synaptic Package Manager, and that gets me things that aren't in the Ubuntu Software Center, including this one that Photox wanted. So no problem, I added it and poof, it came in. Photox can edit it, but as soon as Photox edits it and you save the results, you'll find out it got converted to a JPEG, the standard kind. So that's the new tools to play with for that. I brought in the wallpaper exactly the same way. I did a search online on Einstein wallpaper photo and
And
got a
Einstein
got a whole
Blackboard.
whole bunch of them.
I bet you did Einstein Blackboard photo.
Oh, Einstein blackboard photo. And for the Einstein picture, I just said Einstein photo tongue. I got a huge selection of those. DuckDuckGo was very good for that, for searching the web. And the web, of course, delivers much more than you want. Most of the Blackboard pictures were too blurry, too small. I picked one that was big and looked about right. I may have a better one of these days, but that's the one I picked. So this is what I'm talking about. We've been using it for variety. We've been using it for the WebP example. And back to Thunderbird. And hello? I keep missing it.
I know. I mean,
Every time I go up there, it scrolls one. So right as I'm hitting it, it's moving. Let's see. So now Photox knows how to handle WebP images, and whatever you're using, if they aren't coming in normally, you want to learn how to add them. It's time to start meeting them. They're getting more popular. And I also wanted to say, when I did this Einstein wallpaper demo in Photox, let me bring up Photox. There you are. Photox. It's loading 55,000 image files. And sure enough, it's on the one I left it at. This is the original black and white, already modified. It's been modified because you can see more of his suit details. They've all turned black on this one. This is the one that was big enough. I thought I'd like it. It'd give good resolution later. In fact, it's too big. So I made it a little smaller. I've got many buttons and tabs in Photox I can use. And I'll use a button and go into where that's at. And here's the one I brought in that I just showed you. It's got a yellow on it. But from it, I made this one I thought I'd rather work with. It's the same image, but only the part of it I wanted. And then I thought the colored ones I'll leave behind. I played with them earlier. This is the background I wanted. And I already enlarged it to the size that'll fill my screen, which is 1080 high, 1920 wide. And then I put them together, which you've already seen. And I had a puzzle about how to do this. I had a bunch of choices. The Photox tool I used to do it was Montage. And Photox has two tools sort of alike. And just a minute. Back we go. Here I am, Montage and Mashup. I'm more used to Mashup. In Mashup, you can set up a grid of, say, 2 photos by 4 photos high. And you can make a page like that and print it onto a sheet of paper and pin it up on the bulletin board with 8 of your photos on it, for instance. And you can set how much space there is, how much, I'll call it white space there is for margins for each one and for the outside. And then you can change the color of that white space to a background space you prefer. All very easy to do with Mashup in Photox. This wasn't quite the same thing. I used Montage and it asked me what background I'd like. And I picked the wallpaper, the Blackboard. And then it asked me what first picture I'd like to put in it. Well, I only wanted one in this case. I picked the one I wanted in the size I wanted. And, well, first I picked it in too big, actually. and brought it in and skated it around to about where I want and said, yeah, that's what I want. And then I noticed Montage had a scaling option. I could change the scaling to make it 60% of its current size.
Dick, are we supposed to be seeing these images? Because we're seeing the meeting agenda.
Yes, I'm just describing it now. I'm not agreed. I'm not doing it. I'm just describing it. And I found with Montage, you could do all the above. So I'm emphasizing the difference between them and how we did it. Now I'll go back and either UB and I'll find Montage, which is probably going to be in composite. Different ways to put things together, multiple pictures.
Notice it says the mashup is one of the things in
What?
composite.
What?
I noticed that it says mashup is one of the things in composite.
Right. The quick prompt there, when I touch it, mentions mashup, but it's not mentioning the whole list. I'll open the whole list, and there's Montage also. There's also the high dynamic range tools, which will process the picture more than once. And then it will go back and optimize different parts for different levels of brightness, for instance. You can stack to control noise, etc. You can do a panorama shot where it'll ask you which pictures you want to splice together. It'll let you rough adjust them to align them. And then the computer will do a fine trim to as good as its resolution can do. And do a vertical panorama the same way. And you can do them both at once if you want to put it all together. Mashup I already just described for just a whole batch, a grid of photos. And Montage is what I chose for this. Again, I could select the files, and I set a frame margin of nothing. I wanted just the wallpaper to show, not any white space of any color. And I wanted it to be 1920 wide. And I said 2 columns. I don't think I had to say that. I didn't have to change it either. And when I went to select files, I think I only selected the one finally. Let's see. Don't know that I even did it. Let's go up a row. And let's take our friend here. We'll select that one.
You've
Just
got
so
two. You got 2 you selected somehow.
Oh, that's the 2 that I had. Okay, let's remove one. And
Oh, that's the background.
I had it all set, didn't I? Well, tough. And I'll add one. Now I've got the 2. And the background is the upper one, I do believe. Wait, they're the same one, aren't they? No, they're the same date. I'm not seeing the right end of either one right now.
Oh, but you've got a scroll bar down here.
There we go. Okay. They're beginning to make sense. Einstein Blackboard and Einstein Tongue, and the dates are the same. I was putting them together a few days ago. So I'll say OK for select images. And here it is. It says 2 of them are selected. Proceed. And
I thought you said it asked you for a background. I didn't see it ask you.
I thought I defined the background first and made it full size, but I'm not sure. I really don't know about this. I'll say start. Let's see what happens. Maybe that wasn't the one I meant to be there. We don't know. I think it's optimizing
Did you pick the small blackboard maybe instead of the large one?
No, I don't think so. This was the original, 1920 by 1080. This is the one. Let's just pick this one. Let's just put it in the background. And now let's go back and look. Oh, one time too many. Nope, it's not there. Try again. Composite. Montage. And I try one. Oh, I bet this is from the one that had the two colored heads in it. Nope, I have to type it. Okay. 1, and the margins want to stay 0. I'll say proceed. Now let's see what we can do with it.
And you've got it up here instead of in the background.
Ah, I'm sorry. I had a setup for this that isn't the one I've got now. I don't want to save it. I want to pull the things in. Trust me, you two can do this after some practice, and I need a little more. I'm not real happy about it. That made nice wallpaper, too. Talk about a cliffhanger. Let's see. Back to Firefox. And back to Thunderbird. This time I'll click the right one. And so sorry about the wallpaper demo. I may come back to it and I may not. I think I won't, given the other items. The Linux command line for beginners. I rate this as a very nice very nice article. Ubuntu puts it out, and you'll have an overview about what it's going to do and what you'll learn and what you'll need. And then it goes on to other chapters, the second one of which is just what you want for the history of Linux and the history of what you're going to be working with. So this is the one I mentioned in history at the beginning of today's meeting. And it goes on and gets much more detailed later. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you're going to be doing it with the kind of code I was using when I was looking inside Variety for its commands. You'll learn how to do make a directory, change directory. You'll learn how to talk funny. You think this spells make directory. You'll think this spells temp, etc. And you'll find out there's built-in tutorials for a lot of these things. Nice to know. You'll also find that Ubuntu offers a lot of tutorials, not just the one, and that they're not the only good place that does. So you might want to familiarize yourself with that to some degree. Well, good. I said that there's no real reason to move to Ubuntu 20.10. That 20.04 is going to be supported for years to come. So there's no reason to go tramping ahead to one that won't be supported for years to come. The next one like that is going to be 21.04 next April. But there is one thing I thought was especially interesting bundled into this new Ubuntu release. A special version of it for the Raspberry Pi. Those are those little, very inexpensive boards that you can build a whole computer out of little box or what have you. And a lot of people are playing with them because they're so inexpensive. And now you can put Ubuntu 20.10 on them with its very slick user interface. You've got everything. Well, it turns out it won't run on the smallest Raspberry Pis. It needs some space. But Raspberry has the new Raspberry Pi 4, which is plenty big enough. And Raspberry Pi did something else. Here it is under Hot Hardware. For $100, you can buy a box which has a computer inside the keyboard. Remember the old Radio Shack TRS-80s and so many others that did that for a while? Back when. This one looks really nice. A lot more powerful than that original one that cost $600 when I bought it. And that did not include a terminal.
A video screen? Yeah, it did.
Did it?
Oh, yeah.
Well, this one doesn't for $100, but now you can get a video screen
But it didn't,
or a TV screen.
didn't include any memory. You
It
had to
didn't-
save everything onto
Right.
a little
A tape drive,
audio
a
tape.
little audio tape cassette
Right.
player recorder, and it was not this. This is hotshot stuff, and for $100, they give you that keyboard with the computer in it. They may give you an alternative push-in SIM card, a little fingernail-sized one, and with Ubuntu on it. I think that's an option now when you order it, or you can get the one with Raspberry Pi operating system, which is much simpler, but the one people have been using on the Raspberry Pi. Let's take a look at what you get. It's kind of interesting. For $100, you get a box with this keyboard that's a computer, a power supply, a mouse, a connector cable to hook it up to any monitor
That's the
or
mouse cable. This is the
a connector cable that hooks it up to any monitor or TV that has an HDMI input. And that's most of them these days, and for quite a while now. And it also comes with a very nice, I'm told, manual, not that tiny little one that comes with half of everything these days. And it's apparently very helpful. And that's for programming if you want to get in deeper. But you can just hook it up and be running Firefox on a internet interface, browsing the web. So there's a picture of what comes for $100. You can buy just the keyboard if you already have power supplies and mice and don't need the manual or want to just look at it online. You can buy just the keyboard. I've seen it for $68 online. And here's the outside of the box and back of the box and the way the box comes packed. So this is getting very interesting. I found a different version of the story sitting over just to the side from there, which is where? I guess I have to go back. The different version that I found is this 22-minute video. And we won't stop now for the 22-minute video, but I think he does a very good job introducing it. And he has another video, which you can get from there, where he takes it apart. He opens it up and takes it apart and compares the pieces within it to the pieces within the earlier Raspberry Pi 4. And by the way, for the Pi 4, and I guess earlier ones, you can buy a keyboard from Raspberry Pi to use with it and to install it inside. It costs $20. So $20 of this price is just for the keyboard itself. If you look at it that way, it's pretty reasonable. And once all my computer stuff settles out, I want to buy one and try one. Maybe you'll be ahead of me on this one.
And this guy's videography is very
But
good as
this
well.
guy, yes, this guy's videography is lovely. Enjoy it. And those of you who are techie enough, look for his one on the teardown of it, where he opens it up and looks at the components on the board and the manufacture and design of the board. It's a different actual board, and it's a very slick job. The Raspberry Pi 4 has a habit of overheating. They solved it for this one, and he'll tell you how. It's an interesting story. So I think you'll like that as well. But there's another catch. This one, it isn't overheating. What it's doing is it's gagging every once in a while on the whole Ubuntu. And they say that Raspberry Pi and Ubuntu are working together on that. So again, this all hit in this month of collision of too many things at once. And it's up and working. And by the way, you can download it and burn it to a thumb drive if you can't get it as one of those little drives supplied with it. But it's going to be coming very soon, optimized, and it's not yet fully optimized. So it's going to go noticeably slower than the Raspberry Pi one. And if you're streaming things on the internet, like right now, I think that you might want to wait. I'll wait till I hear it's good, and then I'll buy one with the latest features, because I don't think I'll be using it until then anyway. But what a nice thing to know about for those kids who have to work at home for school and can't afford a computer. This will be one ready to go. You won't have to do any programming for that. It's missing a couple of keys, and you'll be interested to see how they got around that. I think it'd be pretty easy to get accustomed to it, and to run all our things on it once they get the speed up to par. Again, you can add more memory to it. That's not a big deal. It doesn't cost much either. So that's it on that. Algot, are you about ready to demonstrate? Is it pronounced Mobilizon?
Turn on your.
I'm ready.
There you go.
Good. Algot has something exciting to show us today that may be something we even want to
You want
switch
to
to
stop screen
in the
sharing.
future. So I'll be back here as me in a minute, and I'll turn off my microphone until Algot is out.
This is a question as much as it is a demo, because what I'm looking at is a group organization tool called Mobilizon. I believe it's pronounced that way, run by a French company.
Mobilizon. No,
What? Did I just turn him off?
no.
Oh, God. Sorry.
Nope, here I am.
Okay, good.
You should now be seeing my Firefox screen with the presentation information showing on it.
Yes.
This presentation demo is online, and Dick has or will have this address so that you can review the presentation information, which may change based on what we discussed during today's meeting. Mobilizon is an organizational tool that we have not looked at in the past has just been released in version 1.0. I took a moment or two to try to set it up. It is perhaps something more like Facebook groups than it is like a social media tool of the open variety, which I use, called Mastodon. This is the Mastodon screen on my live computer. This is the social media substitute that I do instead of Twitter. And I don't think it is particularly useful for us as an organization. A while ago, we considered using a tool called Get Together, with only one T in the name. And we set up a NatickFOSS team, which advertised meetings somewhat like the service called Meetup, which is proprietary in the same way that Facebook and Facebook groups are a proprietary system. Google used to have a groups tool, but it wiped it out when they didn't have enough people using it to make money. They couldn't monetize it, which is, I think, a big trick for those setups where a company wants your attention by giving them your name and your browsing history, etc., etc. So here we are with this new tool, Mobilisons, which has been produced by a nonprofit that is based in France. Most of the information about this product is currently in French. As I said, we tried Get Together briefly. I don't know if we ever had any great success. I went back and looked at the Get Together because I have been kind of lazy about it. It turned out the last meeting we advertised was from April. And it may turn out that we don't want to use Mobilisons, but I found a US-based server run by a young man named Amolith. That's his online screen named. The French company is Framasoft, and this is developed so that it can produce a connection setup that allows for doing things, including discussions, announcements of events, a public page, and publishing of resources. Now, the reason we may or may not want to use it is this upcoming events place, which would replace or supplement the Get Together, hoping that we will advertise and get more people to join us in these meetings and or live when we get back to that. What makes Mobilisons interesting is that it is not one server, not run from France, though that by itself wouldn't be a stopper, I don't think. Mobilisons is federated, and this fellow Amolith, who is in college now, is a system administration student at the moment. And I set up an account. I set myself up as administrator by developing the original NatickFOSS group. But there are other categories. You can be an administrator, a moderator, a member that is active, somebody that has been invited. You can also apparently reject and not approve different people in case we wanted to lock some bozo out. The actual service is this address right here, the place where we are set up as far as I've gotten. It is called Events Nixnet Services. And if you go there, you will find yourself looking at a screen of different meetings that are available. You can join from there, or you could join by going to a different server and then finding our group otherwise. That's the federation part of it. So you don't have to be with this fellow Amalith to be successful. This is the screen that shows the variety of different groups that are currently running a trial on this place, the NixNet services. And here's our membership with just me currently. It has a tag system so that you can find other Linux related or FOSS related or free software related groups. Currently, there aren't any others, but it's kind of interesting. There is a complete set of current notes on how to do things inside Mobilizon. So it's not hard to use. Not everything's obvious. There's a project Git place with issues and a place to file bug reports and all that. So this is an active practical place to think about getting involved with. So if we came across things that we didn't understand or wanted to improve, we could leave issues here at the Mobilizon Git service. It's called framigit.org. You notice that they are not using GitHub, which gets us out of the thumb of out from under the thumb of Microsoft in that case. But the real question is, should we, as we move to think about this, form some kind of subgroup for our NatickFOSS group to see whether this is a useful thing to add to our set of tools? Because right now we do our discussions online with the mailing list, a very successful mailing list, from my experience anyway. I don't know that everybody in today's meeting has joined that mailing list, and I would recommend everybody do that. Dick's website shows how and why you would want to get involved. But I do think this is worth looking at. We're not having to pay anything to get involved, though it is possible to consider doing a support for the server if we decided to use it heavily. But we need not. Amalith, nice young man, and he says he doesn't need to be paid for this. He's running these servers as part of his effort to become a system admin. And he offers a lot more services actually than just this Mobilizon. If you go looking at his server, which is NixNet Services without the events subdomain. The events subdomain is this Mobilizon thing. So before I leave this sharing, any questions that you want to ask about what I'm sharing? Apparently there aren't, so I'll...
But
Yes?
I was just going to say thank you. I'm very interested in what we can grow it into, if it's worth leaning in. And I'll rough out something on the announcement, and you can trim it up, Alga, before I send it around.
Okay.
So make sure we said what you wanted said for how people can
Really,
go and try it.
Really, I'm mostly considering the possibility of 2 or 3 people to join and become members so that we can explore whether this is a useful tool to add to our arsenal. It may turn out we're already doing most of these things because NatickFOSS.org exists. We don't need a website. So that the page that comes up, that's the public page, this one, talks about events. These are the things that we would have available if we decide to go forward. For example, I posted the resource of the FOSS user group Jitsi instructions, the public page that people would see if they looked for us publicly on this service. This was some quick text I tried to grab from the NatickFOSS website. So, if 2 or 3 people decide it's worth looking into and we talk about it for a month or so, we can report back. If it turns out nobody likes it, we'll make that decision and say thank you very much to the people who created this software and look at it maybe another year from now.
Well, thank you. That sounds very interesting to me. If it's a win, or if it leads to something else that's a win, we'll figure out how to incorporate it. But looking forward to advice on that and some volunteers to help Algot try it out. Let's see. Nope. Still fishing around here, but I'm getting better at it. It's a different layout than the one I've been used to. Okay, good. Next one.
Oh, you need to share your screen again.
Did that do it? No. Cursors. I was going to say, where am I? But who am I?
You have to do it
Here I am.
from Chrome and
Chromium. Now I think I can do it. Not yet. Back to Firefox.
no, you are doing it right down here, but you want to go back to Firefox, right?
Right. And
that did it.
Thunderbird. I need a lot more practice here. Maybe I ought to join that group. Okay. Did I click it already? Didn't I? Now I go to Firefox. And here we are, Bob Rankin again. Does some good things. And he's got lists of photography classes. So you've got a lot you can do. If your primary camera is a new iPhone 12, interesting, because that's what I'm doing. I'm using a smartphone for the camera and delighted with the results. I'll just mention quickly there for people that are thinking of doing it. You'll pay more for an iPhone 12. I'm using a several years old LG V as in victory, V30. And they have excellent cameras. They were designed for that. And with Photox added at the other end, I can edit them to perfection. However, the program that comes with it from Google is not, in my opinion, as powerful as the camera is. And I've switched to one called Open Camera. Again, it's FOSS, and I'm having wonderful results with the combination. So open camera is in the camera running it as a camera, and Photox
It's in the
picks it up in the
phone.
computer afterward and makes it beautiful. And then the variety that I showed you is my tool for turning it into a slideshow instead of desktop wallpaper. And I had it set, by the way, for changing every 8 seconds. If you want to change it every week, you can do that too. But 8 seconds turns out to be nice for just a casual slideshow. And now that I have that new tool down in the bottom for going and finding a slide, or the one I already had for going back to the one you liked when you want to stare at it longer, makes a very, very nice combination. So all these different topics are adding in, and if you're interested in any of those, I think one of these courses might also be quite interesting. So much for that. You can read through it later once I send you the detail. And let's see, we have some time. Let's stop and actually watch this one. I mentioned Free Software Foundation as one of the news items. They've had this created, and it's sort of what free software is all about, the security part of it. And it's kind of an analogy, and it's quick. So let's take a look to see what it does.
Allow us to analyze this faster.
You forgot to close this argument.
But we don't have the resources to do this without a long time.
Millions of lives are
I get it. I'm just saying we need more help. I think Wendell wrote some code we could adapt for this.
Send this to Jen, Advanced Microbiological, so they can use it.
We did it!
You do realize we only have one sample.
And we need countless millions.
Nevertheless, here's to celebrating the moment, to free software, to your incredible coding skills, and to collaboration. We may just save the day after all. That was something, wasn't it?
You can say that again.
You were amazing.
Well, it wasn't me. It was us. Science just works better through collaboration. Sharing the best tools, code, ideas, all of it.
But it's proprietary. We signed a non-disclosure agreement.
If we could just access the source code, we could enhance the software to handle the stress of having to process all the different strains.
Let me see what I can do. This is our revenue stream. I can't just give it away.
This decision will cause a lot of harm.
Free software empowers users to solve the problems of today. Join the Free Software Foundation.
Oh, it's even nicer than it was.
Well, there you have it. That's almost where we began, isn't it? COVID-19 and the parallel going on with our software not quite coming together at the moment, but also this huge strength of free open source software, that it's not proprietary. People can lean on each other. You can build standing on the shoulders of giants. You can use debugged items for the most part and just adjust what the new change requires. and I thought it was kind of nice. It does seem timely, doesn't it? By the way, it will lead you to several other options if you read the text at the beginning before you click the animation part. And here's something a little like it. CrowdSec is a new project to crowdsource internet security. Speak of all those proprietary solutions out there, all those services they want to sell you for making your internet more secure. Suppose the users and their programmers, instead of the companies and their programmers, put it together from the free software side. This is a project that's underway, and you might want to watch it close. We might all be running it next year. I'm guessing not next week, but I might be wrong. And I'll have a link for that for you also tomorrow, if not sooner. We've been making it the same evening and often within an hour. So I will try to do that. We'll see how well it goes. And finally, on my list, we come to FOSS Fun. Again, I remind you, it fits in with those last two pretty nicely now, I hope. Or you could buy Windows 10 Home, go back to proprietary, and they'll only charge you $100 for now. Oh yeah, and extra for Microsoft Office, etc., etc. That's about all I wanted to say at this point. And I want to ask, do other people have questions analogous to mine?
Yeah, this is Jerry. We're going to do a little bit on Fedora 33.
Oh, good. Thank you. Go ahead.
Let me just share the screen here a little bit. Okay, well, 33 was released last week, and it's got some very interesting changes. One of the biggest features is finally the default file system is Btrfs or BTRFS. This is a new file system that has been under development for a long time. It's fully open source and has a lot of the features that ZFS has. But if you do an upgrade, it will not change your file system. So the system I'm operating on right now is an upgraded to Fedora 33, and it's running ext4. But I did my laptop, I did a clean install, and that's running Btrfs. I've no problem on the laptop. And let's see. Nano is a default text editor. I don't like Nano. The other thing I think is important is swap. Swap is using a system called ZRAM. Historically, under Linux and Unix systems, virtual memory has been paging to a swap partition. This is now using ZRAM, which is a RAM drive, again, that's using compression, stuff like that. Linux actually has a very advanced swapping system in that when you load a program, the instruction part of your program does not swap out like it does on other virtual machines. It's actually simply mapped into your memory. So you never have to swap out when your memory gets full. It just will delete those pages because it can always get them back. I haven't really noticed any thing. You'll get the ZRAM even if you do an upgrade. The other thing you have is systemd's resolved, or resolved D actually. What that is doing is your DNS lookup is going to be local to your machine. So any application you have that does a name lookup, everybody should understand what DNS is, or domain name. That's when you go to the internet to find the name of something, or to find the actual address of something given the name. And this is essentially just a big cache for your system, and it should speed up web browsing and stuff like that. I don't care about ARM devices, but your cell phone and stuff like that is running ARM. And of course, they've upgraded to GNOME 3.38. One of the things you get with 33, or with any release, I use an awful lot of additions, extensions to GNOME, such as the activities bar on top and stuff like that. And these generally, when you do an upgrade to a new version, they usually stop, but they come back in a day. So you just have to do that. And they're dropping legacy BIOS support. And it's essentially there's a lot of junk they've got to get rid of in the old systems. Yeah, Stephen Morph used to really, really want ButterFS, and unfortunately he passed away before he saw it made standard. But ButterFS is a big file system improvement to the file system. So, and that's about it. I just wanted to keep it short.
Well, thank you, Jerry.
Jerry.
I'm not used to calling it ButterFS yet, but it is available for Ubuntu, along with several others that were experimental not long ago. I'm still using ext4. I really don't know when I should stop, but with a bunch of clients out there, we're cautious. But I'm interested in that, aside from the Fedora, and it's good to hear about more. Again, there are hundreds of flavors of Linux, and Fedora and Ubuntu are two of the most popular ones, and they're both supported by big companies. Good to know. Anybody have any other questions, comments? Algot.
Jerry's comment about DNS and DNS caching made me note my memory of going to NatickFOSS.org and having it take sometimes 45 seconds to a minute to actually load for me. Do you have any sense of why that's happening?
I have seen it a few times myself. Normally, I see it almost instantly, but not always. And I presume it has something to do with somewhere along the path beyond here. We're not doing anything differently. We use RCN for our internet connection. We host the site at A2 Hosting. And if you're seeing it, and are you on RCN, Algot?
No,
So
I
I'm
use
guessing that's not the part we're talking about. It's perhaps at A2 hosting. I'll inquire.
I have a possible, it's a very large file that's loading. And I believe I've been doing a lot of cleanup on it and have found a lot of things where I HTML code was opened and never closed, or closed 3 or 4 times, and things that were just done like 15 times for the same thing. Change font to Times New Roman, change font to Times New Roman, change font to Times New Roman, over and over and over again. And I've been getting rid of a lot of that, and so it should be speeding up.
I'm not sure it's that particularly, because sometimes when I get those notices about checking an unknown email that's going to our mailing list, the same thing happens, which wouldn't be encountering your HTML at all. That's going to the same server, apparently, if I'm right about where it's located, Jerry. But it
Yeah.
doesn't come up, and I'm wondering if there's either a hosting issue with the A2 people or their DNS, but it doesn't sound like a DNS issue to me either, because it says waiting for NatickFOSS.org.
We have had problems occasionally with A2 hosting being either very slow or down. And maybe you caught it there was a period about a month and a half ago or so that was particularly bad. Is this still happening?
It's been happening intermittently for about 6 months.
Wow.
Okay. I got some comments.
I can say that's true for me too. It depends partly on time of day.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, one comment.
So it might be their traffic level. You're thinking.
Yeah, one comment.
Maybe.
One comment I have. I just did a dig on NatickFOSS.org, and that's what you do a lookup for. And I've noticed that my server is 127.0.0.53. Any IP address that begins with 127 is your local host. So what it is Resolve D is actually your DNS server. What it used to be is that you had a table and it would go out to, you'd have some external DNS server. It would go out to your external DNS server and do the lookups. I noticed with Comcast, they used to prefer to use their gateway as the lookup service, and they'd start caching in this. But what Resolve D is puts your host as the DNS server, and so if you have multiple applications or multiple DNS lookups, they're going to go directly to that server, which is on your computer, and it'll be the lookup will be much faster.
When it works. I had Ubuntu and Comcast get into a conflict when there was the upgrade to 2004. And that was a bug in Resolve D.
Yep, it very well can be. Anything can have bugs. And also, another bug that I found the other day was I run several different releases of, I run Ubuntu, Fedora, PC Linux OS, a couple in GNOME boxes or in virtual machines. And I noticed that PC Linux OS was coming up at the wrong date, the wrong time. And this was after daylight savings time. And we found there was a daylight savings time bug that's been fixed. And it doesn't occur now if you do an install. Now, this is right after an install.
Jerry, could we have a little quickie write-up of your whole discussion that you just said about DNS servers?
Yes.
You know, what the commands are and so on, and how one uses them.
Okay.
That would be
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll circulate it, of course. I'm also thinking we have an independent service that just checks in regularly or irregularly, but often, at A2 hosting to look at the site and see if it's up or down. How fast it's loading might be available, but I don't get it in my normal report. I'll inquire. Maybe I can learn more about it. And I'll ask A2 hosting if they have any clues. Might not be them, and they might still have some good clues.
Yeah, you got to remember that your DNS is interesting because you have a root, a DNS root, which would be your network solutions or something like that, or GoDaddy or something like that. And then you have what they call zone files. And each of these different hosts has a zone file. And they get complicated because I manage, we have a number of virtual hosts on our system. And I'm sure that A2 hosting probably has dozens and dozens of zone files. Customers can maintain their own, or not. John and I just maintain a few of them. But if your zone files get screwed up, or in our case, we had our secondary DNS server decided to go out of business. And he, he just shut it down, and we didn't know it for a while. But, and so we were looking for a secondary DNS for a while. But we found a volunteer. But we maintain our own DNS. So I can put some technical explanation in there as well as what the tools are.
Great.
To look at it.
Excellent. We'll see what we can do to swap that one.
Okay.
Anything else? Any thoughts? Well, then I think I will wrap it up and see if we can get the links posted for you. And thank everyone who participated. Big thanks to Dennis, who's going to do another big chunk before it goes to you. He's going to get it all neatly organized up online, and then I'll tell you about it. And you'll think I did all the work. Thanks, Dennis.
Okay.
Algot, did you want to say something?
That's a goodbye. Okay. Goodbye from me, too.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Dick.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Hope the world is saved by tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Hope so.